Well, hello. So we're excited to be back tonight. Lee will be joining us in just a couple minutes. He was running late, but we do have a couple other people joining us tonight from the NarcAvengers. So it's the first Wednesday of the month. We normally try to have other people join us to be able to share some of everybody's platform, be able to share what's going on. So yeah, that's why we're here. So super excited to be here. Feel free to drop any comments and things in the chat. He's like texting me right now. Any comments in the chat, and we'll bring those on screen, be able to pass it around, answer. If you have any questions specifically for one of the people on screen, just make sure to kind of say their name first and then do the question. Oh, you can't get the link. But anyways, I'm going to let you guys go ahead and start introducing yourself, and I'm going to send the link to Lee because for some reason it didn't get it. So, Carrie, you want to start us off?
Sure. I'm Dr. Carrie Kerr-McAvoy. I'm a clinical psychologist with over 20 years experience and a narcissistic abuse survivor. And I have a platform on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and a podcast called Breaking Free from Narcissistic Abuse. And I love talking about everything related to healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. So I'm excited to be here tonight.
Awesome. Ashley?
Sure. I'm Ashley, and my platform is called The Narc and Me. I'm on TikTok and Instagram, and I have a new podcast. We're on episode 5. I've already had Carrie and Ben on. They're awesome episodes. So The Narc and Me is on Apple and Spotify. Lindsay, you're up next. So yeah, I'm a survivor of narcissistic abuse and getting to talk to all of these incredible, knowledgeable people sharing tips on how to heal.
Awesome. And Lindsay?
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm the Lindsay Goodman across all social media. I also have a podcast called It's Not All Rainbows, title chosen because I'm a queer person and I really like to spread awareness about queer abuse, although not just that. And I'm also a certified trauma recovery coach, just got that done. So I'm excited to be here and be a part of this incredible group of people as well.
Awesome. And we got Mr. Lee Hammock in the house.
What's going on, y'all? So we're running a tad bit behind, y'all. Y'all new here. My name is Lee Hammock, diagnosed narcissist, one of these self-aware narcissists. Just on here to spread awareness, heals, growing. I messed up. I get it correctly. Yeah. Just on here to try to spread awareness for NPD, get more people to therapy, and also, just validate the victims, survivors, and thrivers of this disorder, toxic traits, and all that other good stuff, y'all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So we'll have some comments that'll pop up here. Like, feel free, like, whenever you guys leave comments, you'll see it pop up on the bottom of the screen. Lee normally mentions, like, if you guys don't want your comment on the bottom of the screen, make sure you start off with that. Of like, I don't want my comment on the screen. That way we have at least like a heads up that we don't put on the screen. But otherwise, we'll be dropping some of your questions up on the screen whenever we have them. So like, feel free to be able to drop questions, comments, different things like that in the chat, and we'll bring it on. And again, if you have any specific ones for the people on screen, then we'll go ahead and just say their name first. That way we know. Hello, NarcAvengers. Yep, everyone's here. So we're super excited. We got coming up in, 10 days, right? We got coming up in 10 days. We're going to be in Texas, and we are super excited about that. If you guys haven't had a chance to be able to see some information about that, that's coming up. You can go to narcavengers.com and check out narcavengers.com because we got a lot of stuff going on. Last time we checked, it was around 170 people, I think, that's like signed up for the meet and greet part. Also, when you go on there, you can go into and you can schedule the question and answer time where we've got 90 minutes where you'll be able to ask questions of all the people there. And then you can also book one-on-ones with some of the NarcAvengers that are going to be present there at the same time as well. So feel free to go to narcavengers.com/Texas. We got 9 hours before we'll be heading there and be super excited. I'm super pumped about it.
9 hours? Or are you getting here in 9 days? I need to be prepared.
Right. I'm not driving. I'm flying, so it'll be good. But yeah. Awesome. Anyways, let's see. We got some comments coming in. I'll go ahead and put some up here in just a moment. So we got people from all over the place. So I'll be part of this community. You've inspired me to start posting my story on Instagram. I've done a few posts so far. Any tips on how I can help others? Any tips from y'all?
I'm sharing it real quick. Sorry, let me put it back on
Okay,
here.
you're fine.
Sharing it. What was the
Well,
question?
you're really quiet starting off.
What was the question? Sorry, I like literally sharing.
Just any tips of like how to help other people. I think a huge part is sharing your story. Sharing your story is huge because you never know who you're going to resonate with or who you're going to be able to help. You know, just by hearing your story. So for sure.
I know that name, Kristen. I know her.
Yeah, she's been in some of ours.
Yeah.
I think
Why
just
do
be your
narcissists
authentic self,
push?
right?
Was that?
Just be your authentic self. Talk about the
Right.
things that resonate with you and what you've learned and how you're healing.
Mhm.
Yep. Because your heal, the way you heal might be different than the way somebody else heals. You know, some people
Yeah.
like to heal by themselves. Some people like to heal in crowds and groups and find support systems and things like that. You know what I mean? So your healing journey is your healing journey. So
Nicole says, why do narcissists push their shame onto the closest people? He rages at me. Then any truth surfaces, it's all about some other situation he has going on and projects on me. Then he's silent a week and back.
Yeah, I see that as an issue with intimacy. The closer you are, the more likely you're to know things about them that they don't want to be known, and they have a fear of being known. So they're going to be the angriest or the most acting out with those who are closest. Whereas with the public who doesn't see them but little bits, they get to protect that identity a little bit better. They get to control it, present it. So that's why there's so much rage and so much intensity with you would be one of my guesses.
Yeah, that was good. Someone says, hey, so glad I got this live chat. Hoping someone or a few can chime in. Currently separated from my husband, who's emotionally abusive, but we have kids, but says he wants family back.
they always do. I want my family back. This is I feel like that's one of the most common terms you hear when you're separated with a narcissistic partner, and that's where they get you back. They use that as leverage. I want my family back. They always feel like they have because y'all have kids. They always feel like they have at least one foot in the door. You know, just like, hey, I want my family back. What, SOS. So what steps is this person taking to show you that they want their family back, other than saying that? Are they going to therapy? Are they working on themselves? Are they showing and what? I also like to ask this question as well. What have they done in the past to show you that they're possible of anything, like being consistent with anything? What type of consistency have they provided for you in the past? Like, I need more than one example of consistency. Like, because me personally, I'll be in therapy for the rest of my life. Ben will be in therapy for the rest of his life. We'll be in therapy for the rest of our lives dealing with this and combating it. Is your person, what have they shown before that they're able to be consistent with something like that? Because it's tough. Therapy is not an easy journey, but like saying I want my family back and actually proving that they want them back are two totally different things.
What I struggle with is that people who are not toxic, kind of narcissists or psychopaths, are very good at knowing what our buttons are and where our vulnerabilities are. And if they know that that's going to make you feel guilty and bad, like for setting the limit, they're going to leverage that as a way to get back in. So it's hard, but we need to learn to guard our hearts better and expect real change. So to define what that change is and then watch for it and expect it over a long term. Otherwise, this is just another form of manipulation.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to add to that was with like everything that you both just said, but then also knowing that when you have kids with someone, or in my case, it was like sort of like a step parent situation, they know that you also you dream of having a healthy family for your children and having that other parent. So then when it's kind of like also playing on, yes, guilting you and all of that stuff, but also you're like, oh, I do really want my child to have that sort of dream family that we all wish we had growing up. It is very hard to understand, like you were saying, Carrie, that, and Lee, that it's not real change because you so desperately want it to be.
Yeah.
And the phrase, I want my family back, that Lee, you say is so common. I think as a survivor, what kind of triggers me about that phrase is it's always, I want my family back. I want my family back. It's again about control. It's not, let's put our family back together and be a unit. Like the verbiage that we all hear so often is, I want my family back, which is again showing that they feel a sense of ownership over everyone in the family. And it's not inviting her into a totally different dynamic. It's again, like you said, Lee, like repeating the same patterns over and over, just using different words and manipulation tactics.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, and that phrase is why I had one little piece. I want my family back. What about I want to keep my family together before it gets to the point where it's fractured? You know what I mean? What actions were they taking before it got to the point where it actually fractured and was separated? You know, for them to get to the point where they wanted actually to get it back and stuff like that as well. So, you know, a lot to think about. You know.
What does it feel like as a narcissist circles back around to the same supplies over and over? Also, do you feel like what do you feel like when you're being mirrored? And what's the point of the pure torment post separation? I'm trying to like wrap my head around all that.
The first part to me strikes me as there's a question to both you and Lee, Ben and Lee, about what are you feeling when you come back to the same person over and over again?
Let me think about that real quick. Same person over and over again. So the way my mind works, it's just like access. If the person is going to allow me back into their life, I'll take it. Although it might be temporary, it's something. You know what I mean? I'm actually about to make a video on this. It'll probably be tomorrow because I'm tired. About how some people say narcissists can't be alone. I actually like to be alone, honestly, but not like I like to be alone. But I always like to have someone there, if that makes sense. I always like to have somebody that I can reach out to if I need some supply or whatever, intimacy or whatever from that person. And typically it might be an ex, somebody who allows me back into their life. Because another one of the most common phrases I do see is we were on and off. The relationship was on and off for X amount of time period, you know, on and off, on. And I ask people like, what causes the off periods? Why is it off? What turns the light switch off? You know, they get tired, they ghost me, they do this, they do that. I'm just like, okay, then you got keep the switch off. You allow them to come back in there and flip the light switch back on. You know, gotta pay the power bill due.
Do you know, either one of you know when you're mirroring someone? Do you know it?
Oh, I do. I honestly, I've been doing it for a long time. I could just tell because I immediately just pick. Especially if I see something in somebody else that I like, a personality trait or quality, I'll try to take it. I try to make it my own. You know what I mean? I've always told people like the person you see right now is just an accumulation of the personality traits and things like that I saw people that I wanted. So I just made this, you know, based on other people that I was like, I like that about you. You know, just I will hang around that person to be around them and just like and start act like them. You know, so I do.
I don't know if it's just on my side, but your signal's breaking up a little bit on your side, Lee. Just FYI. So
do you know you're mirroring someone, Ben? Are you aware of it?
Yeah, I definitely am aware of it now. Like there's definitely like times where I catch myself even like subconsciously doing it. And I'm like, oh, like that wasn't actually me. That was like me responding or acting or sitting or, you know, acting like the other person in one sense. And typically it's more like caught now than it is just kind of like habitual. But in the past, there was a lot of it that was like habitual, but then it was also like in my mind twisted to be like, oh, like that's like either love or care or, you know, that's how I'm going to like respond or think of it as.
I mirror as well. I didn't know it until I saw someone in grad school doing a research project on it. I'm autistic, so I have social problems, social cue problems. So I've learned to mirror as a way to handle connecting with people, to make them feel at ease. But I didn't know I was doing it until I caught myself doing it. And then like, oh, interesting. But for me, I catch myself into the moment of it. I'm not aware on purpose that I'm doing it.
I think too that like a little bit of, you know, when kids hang around other kids and it almost feels like they're a little bit of a chameleon and they take on little personality traits. And we do that as adults too with certain friends who are, you know, I have this couple of friends who they just laugh all the time. They're always happy and joyful. And I feel like I take that on a little bit more when I'm with them. I think the big difference too is it's not something that's abnormal. It's whether or not it's being used against someone in a range of tactics to then get a goal in place or get to a goal line, because I think we all do that a little bit here and there.
Oh yeah, I agree. And you're right though. It's intentionality. Is it for exploitation or just to ease the social connection?
Yeah. So my intent sometimes will be to replace that person in their circle. If they had a friend circle or group that I wanted to be a part of, I would just take on the personality characteristics just to get them out of it because I didn't really care for them. You know, just like I can be a better you than you are. You know, so I know it sounds a little crazy, but that's how my mind just goes to that point.
I would more or less like mirror to gain access so I could be the person infiltrating that would cause stuff to happen, but they wouldn't know it's me.
Interesting. It's interesting.
A little bit more the covert side sneaking out.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Thanks so much. He was in therapy for a year, fully diagnosed with NPD that set him off, refused further therapy, leveled insight. Thank you. Yes, only want a healthy family.
He went to therapy. He actually went to therapy.
Yeah, and then once he was diagnosed, she said he stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear it. Maybe you can. It's kind of like you wake up in the Matrix and you want to go back to it. You want to go back in. You want to get out of it. You want to kind of log off the server. You don't want to be part of it anymore because you too woke. You hear everything, you see everything, and you notice the manipulations and the stuff that you're doing in like right when you're doing them. It's kind of like, damn, I'm here, but I'm not here at the same time. So I understand the dynamic. I remember that feeling. I wanted to go away. You know, when I was first going to therapy, I was like, how do you make it stop? I just feel like the noise got louder. You know. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Brittany asks, can you all get examples of dog whistling?
How many do you want?
Ashley, do you have one you want to share?
I mean,
put you on the spot.
God, mine used to do it all the time. You know, I think it's just one of those things where, you know, it would be a comment about something I was wearing, or specifically, you know, a comment had been made at home about something, and then maybe he didn't like me wearing something, but then he would compliment someone else for wearing the same thing just to fuck with me. Small little micro moments in public places around a lot of other people where it was either typically wouldn't take the bait, but I knew it was intentional to hurt my feelings. And usually it was either about how I would react to things or overthink things or over-explain, or for some odd reason, he was a little controlling over what I wore in a very quiet, you know, Carrie talks about this and we've talked about it before, in a very quiet way, not the overt, you're not allowed to wear that, but in that rewards and devaluing system.
You wanted to limit who made passes at you or who you looked at or who looked at you.
So I have experience with that right there because my wife had these gray jogging pants. I used to hate. But I didn't want to be outwardly aggressive towards them. I was just like, you know what? I'm like, wearing those pants again? I would just say little sly stuff just to get into her head. And so she would stop wearing them. She'd throw them away. You know what I mean? They had like paint on them and all kinds. It was like dirty. I was like, just, you know, I didn't want to tell her to throw them away because it was sentimental to her. I was like, you sure you want to wear those pants again? You know, are they that comfy and stuff like that? It's just little chirps.
It's little things. Like I wasn't really allowed to wear yoga pants out of the house if I wasn't actually going to yoga. And if I would put them on, he'd be like, what are you, fucking Sporty Spice? What are you doing? Take those off. Yeah. And I know it sounds funny, but when it's constant, then it starts to chip away at how you feel. And it's kind of funny because I have this huge closet and not a lot of clothes now. And I noticed, you know, over the years, I just started donating more and more because of like you, Lee, like, you know, you don't necessarily say give it away, but you make all of those comments enough so it's stuck in our head that we should probably just admire that.
Yeah.
Right.
Mine was more subtle. Mine, I would tell him a painful story in my life. Like I left a job and people forgot that what I had done and I was leaving and they literally didn't say thank you or anything for me. They let me walk out and it really hurt me. So he would bring out the shirt he was given as a gift. It was a sports team, expensive, and it had been autographed, and his group had given it for him as a gift when he left. So he'd say, look what people gave me. And I would know he was reminding me that they didn't remember me.
Wow.
Yeah. That's tough.
Those are really good examples. Awesome. Let's see. Looks like for us, Lee, does it hurt when you can't control your grade A supply anymore? I swear he's more addicted to me than I am him.
So this is gonna sound ignorant, yeah, but I don't even know what grade A supply is. You know, I just feel like I don't know that term. I get
more like pop terms for it, right?
Yeah, I understand what it means, but I don't know if I've ever had a grade A supply. I don't think I've ever had anybody that I previously thought was not replaceable. I just feel like I would make sure they knew that they were replaceable. I don't know. I just like I can lose control of somebody. Yeah, I don't like that. As far as it depends on what role you play in my life. You know what I mean? If I lose control of you and you got to take half my half my earnings or something like that, then that's different than if I lose control of the addiction is something. Yeah, that addiction is something different though. I have had that right there before though. It's annoying to try to kick that addiction. More angry and annoying than anything. Because I don't like people. I don't like feeling that. I don't like feeling that intensely about people. To have to go through that pain of having to feel that break that addiction. I don't dabble. If I ever get divorced again, y'all will never, don't ask me, can narcissists love? Y'all hear me get divorced, don't ask me, do narcissists love people? I'm like, not this one. So
I almost felt like the addiction part to me spoke more of borderline personality dynamic. They're more abandonment fearful. They'll do more work to try to keep people attached. People who are cluster B can fluctuate in and out of some of those different characteristics. So you can have narcissistic traits one moment and then act borderline-ish in another moment and antisocial in another moment. So it could be someone who's a little more fluid between those states.
Right. Yeah. That was good. This person said, does narcissism always go along with hypocrisy? Like, are they eager to confront you and hold a mirror before your face, but explode with anger when you do the same? They can't face themselves. That's a really good question. I think definitely a big aspect of that is like not wanting to have any self-reflection, not wanting to look at themselves. That's why you bring up something, the past is in the past. Don't bring up the past, but I can always bring up your past as a way to try to leverage and control you, for sure.
That, and then also having like a double standard of like saying anger when you do the same thing, and having this like expectation for their own life and then a completely different set of rules for you. And again, getting angry when you don't like follow those expectations.
Yeah. That's really good. Might be done too for maybe survival. I've noticed that I started mirroring my narcissist. When you go silent and do the same thing, is that normal? Start mirroring the narcissist.
I know I did. It was for survival.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt too much to be around them. So
don't they call it narcissistic fleas? Where after a period of time, you do start to behave like them in some ways, but they also say that it does wear off.
Yeah.
Narcissistic flea bath.
Yep.
Flea bath.
Pull the powder out.
Highly recommend that. It's called no contact.
Creating a trauma bond is hard work to throw away something that you might get control back of. If you keep letting him back, then he knows he still has something over you.
Yeah. Yeah, but the hard part with breaking a trauma bond is you got to break through the deception and the confusion that you're feeling about what's real. So if you're letting someone back into your life, to me, that says that you're not for sure if they're good or bad and if the relationship's savable. So you sit on the fence of both sides at the same time. So part of it is settling what's real about this relationship and then making a decision on that information.
Yeah. Because that's one of the hardest things for people to get down to is like the truth of the situation, like what's actually real. When they cut between the fantasy and the fiction to try to figure out the reality, they start realizing like, oh, this is what happened. I think Brittany refers to it sometimes as like radical acceptance, like understanding like this is like actually what happened. That's a huge part that's, I think, essential for healing, to be able to work past that versus like always trying to avoid it a lot of times.
Exactly. Yeah, and they do a lot though to contribute to the confusion. I mean, that's what breadcrumbing is. The minute they sense you're pulling away, and I think there's almost like an instinctual radar, they move in and begin to entice you to do nice things or show sides of themselves that you first thought you met, so that you end up being more confused and then you waffle worse again. So it's not just on the side of the person who's confused in their head. There's actual dynamics going on that add to the confusion.
My birthday video is a perfect example of that, because they knew that I was getting ready to pack my bags and they're like, oh, I'll do this amazing thing and record it. So she posts on Instagram and shows everyone how much I love her. And by that time I was like, this is a breadcrumb and I don't want the crumb.
Yeah.
I feel like the world has saw that video now. It's just like it went viral on like literally every platform you posted on. Just like,
I think we're probably at like 60 million views across platforms now. I didn't even know that many people, I don't know, could see.
I loved it because it shows the subtlety of confusion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was powerful, and the controversy around it was incredible.
yeah, it showed some people that Lindsay was actually the narcissist because she was ungrateful for that cupcake.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm grateful, and I on my social media about myself.
Yep.
I saw that post. I was like, oh.
Yeah, there's so many different things.
Lee, I was like, oh wait, am I a narcissist? And you were like, do you remember what you said?
Yeah.
You said I wasn't gonna tell you or something like that, and I like froze.
With you is what that is.
I did say that. Was that doing the one-on-one? They was doing the one-on-one, wasn't it?
I think it was like shortly after we left, and like kept saying that, and I messaged you, and I was like, am I a narcissist? Like, do you see this in me? I think I asked Carrie too, because so many people say that just based on that. Yeah. I
was like, well, I wasn't going to tell you this, but
I like what
hey.
Oh.
I'm late. Hi, fashionably late. Fashionably late in my love is a verb hoodie.
That's
Hey.
awesome.
Hey.
That is awesome.
It's very cute.
Do you have the hat?
I have the hat, but my hair is not very hat.
No, you're fine. I remember seeing the hat the other day. It looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, everyone.
Welcome. So we're just going through some questions like normal, nothing crazy. But
Good questions, though.
oh, here's a popular one. Does the narcissist ever find the new supply and just move on?
Very popular.
Because I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of times where they get the new supply and then they still keep trying to come back, or they still keep, responding of like, when are they actually going to be? A lot of times I feel like people ask like, when are they finally going to be done with me and like actually move on and leave me alone because they already have someone else.
Say the answer is never.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when you're done with them, when you block them everywhere and they have no contact for you, it doesn't matter if they're done with you or not. They can't reach you.
Right. Yeah. That's a huge part is cutting off their reach.
Yeah.
I think don't narcissists pretty much start lining up the new supply the minute they meet the current supply?
You
Not
have to
the
have-
exact minute, maybe like the minute after.
Oh,
There's a buffer. There's a lag there.
That's a buffer first.
Mine had like
right?
multiple. I think he had them stacked up like cards, like one after another. So in case one falls, he's got another to pull
They
out.
get with a new supply and then it's like buffering and they're loading all the other supplies in the queue to get ready.
I think today to nowadays, having more than one supply, I don't know if it's society or whatever. It just seems like it's a lot easier because it just seems like people don't care. Like even if you're not a narcissistic person, it just seems like some people would know that you're married or with somebody else, and they don't. They're just like, oh, okay, cool. I'm fine with where we are. I know you're a narcissist and you're married, but I'm fine with dealing. I've talked to so many people in that situation. I'm just like, they're the side person. I'm just like, wait, what? I'm having an affair with a married man and I love him. He's a narcissist. What? I'm like, okay. Yeah, but
And then they're always upset that they never leave.
yeah.
And they always expect them to actually like leave the spouse, and they've like future faked them for so long. And they're like, but he said he's gonna do it and all this stuff, and it never happened.
My third one-on-one I did, I had a woman that was in this situation for 26 years, dude. She left her, she got divorced. She got divorced and everything, waiting on him to get divorced. And he had like a 3-year-old son, and he was like, just give me time, let my son get a little bit older, let him start preschool first, and I'm gonna leave. That that 3-year-old son has a 3-year-old son now. So it's kind of, you know, they got grandkids now. Let the grandkids get in preschool. It's just like, and she actually asked me, she's like, you think he's going to leave his wife? I said, 26 years later? I was like, look, I'm going to be real with you. I don't think so. She's like, no. And she was in Virginia, Ben. She was screaming. I was like, "Dear Lord." You know?
And it's rough. In the water down there.
It was rough. I was just like, dang.
Do most narcissists suffer from self-sabotage?
I think they do, but the question is, do they see it as self-sabotage? I don't think they do. They see it as everybody else's fault.
Yeah. Yeah, I suffer from being a victim. Yeah. That would be like the idea. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's the story that I played in my head. Like every time I'd have a relationship and that relationship would fall apart, it wasn't my fault. Like it was them leaving me. I was the faithful person in the affair. I was the faithful person, the person that was still there for them, and they were the ones that like walked away. So like therefore, like I was the victim because they left me. Yeah,
and just overall, just not in relationship dynamics. I've had a bunch of self-sabotage situations, kind of looking back at my life, because it gets to the point where you feel like you don't deserve taking the next step in life. Sometimes, like you don't deserve to be successful. You don't deserve some things. You just feel like you don't deserve, so you just blow it up. You might go out here and cheat. You might go out here and just procrastinate. You might go out here and just do bad in school, so you don't get that degree or the diploma or something like that. I've done it a lot. That's why it took me. I didn't graduate from college till I was 30 years old because stuff's just like that. I was like, well, my mom needed help paying the bills at home. My mom she paid the bills all through until I was grown. She's like, she needs help now that I'm grown. It's always an excuse as to why, I wasn't doing what I needed to do. Like, I'm not right. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And then I see y'all got the brand going on. Carrie got the book. Ashley, you doing your thing. Everybody's doing their own thing, and it's always just motivating. It keeps you going. It gives you some kind of outlook for us. It helps, it helps kind of quell the self-sabotaging. Like it takes the hand off the detonator. You're like, no, don't do it. So you don't want to blow your own life up. So I've had experiences that, oh God.
And a lot of times, like the self-sabotaging, like blowing up the life, like all those different things that happen is sometimes just out of like boredom. Like it's like the adrenaline, the all the stuff that's normally there isn't there. So like, what do I have to do to be able to create it?
Create some chaos.
See it out of entitlement. I deserve that. So even though it's not good for me, I'm going to go do it and mess up everything anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. Is it common for narcissists to not have any new friends? My ex only had his childhood friends and no new friends from within the last 10 years of his life, but it was a very successful career-wise.
Mine had like friends who they would call forward if they needed something. So like they didn't have people they would hang out with unless of course they needed to, like after I left, they needed to look like they were fine. They had all these friends. And so they would like meet up with people and go out and like take pictures and do all this stuff. This was before I went no contact. But while we were together, it was like, oh, I need an Epic Pass for free. So I'm going to get that person's Epic Pass. Oh, I need whatever. And so they would like draw forth the people who they call friends, but they didn't have actual friends who they spent time with and invested in and even would respond to if someone reached out.
Right.
I was the exact same as this. And it was really bizarre for me because, in the beginning, he didn't really seem to have a lot of friends when we lived in LA. And then when we moved here to Texas, where he was from, he had these friends that he grew up with, yet I'd never heard of them. And he had known them since he was a kid. And one of them said to me once, we hadn't heard from him in at least 7 or 10 years or more until you came around. And then suddenly he wanted to show you off to everybody. And here he is again. And now, ironically, a lot of those are my closest friends who don't talk to him anymore. But there really wasn't a lot of forming new relationships, meaningful friendships in that time in between adulthood, even college. He didn't really have any college buddies. It just was kind of weird, but it was exactly what you're describing.
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, like I don't I feel like the friends that I have been like more recent, like in the past like 2 years, past like year, 2 years of like actual friends. And then before that, like, whenever my life was like slowly imploding, like all those people just like faded away. Some of it was, they were toxic on their own side and they were fake. And other stuff was just like stuff that I did in my life that kind of like closed those doors. But, up until then, there was still a lot of aspects of like, for me, like isolation because like we'd moved around so much, so it wasn't really building up a bunch of friendships. I had lots of like friends all over the country, but not necessarily like good friends or anything like that.
What I've noticed a lot of the times, like especially with the narcissists in my life, that they would gain a lot of people around, like give their phone number out and find new people at work and find new people wherever, and text them and talk to them and have them around as a new friend. But it would be more like supply. It would just be some attention paid to them, some entertainment that they would have people that they would need to talk to because they just can't be alone with their own thoughts. And I do find that most narcissists, and I always say this to my clients, do not be friends with your narcissistic ex because they don't look at you like a friend. And they're your ex for a reason. And whenever they say something like, let's stay friends, they could be friends with some of their other exes. They're not looking for you for a friendship. True friendship is that intimacy where you feel safe and you can trust somebody, that they are a platonic friend and they are a friend in your life that you can rely on and have a connection with. That's not a relationship. What most narcissists have, unaware narcissists, because I know they're self-aware in the room, what most narcissists have are not friends. They have enablers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I just did a video about this too. They were never your friend to start. Your friends don't gaslight you. Your friends don't future fake you. Your friends don't cheat on you or lie to you. That's not the definition of friendship. They weren't friends before and they're right. They used you. They're not your friend throughout the relationship. Why would you want that in your life after?
I always called him as having an entourage. He didn't really have friends. He had an entourage.
Yeah.
Fan base,
Like a posse or a pack, a gang.
Dark posse.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I've got this one. I've actually seen a couple like spin-offs of this one, but kind of like at the baseline, someone was asking, can BPD and NPD marriage work? I've seen a couple in there of like, can NPD and NPD work? But I've seen actually like a couple tonight of like, can someone with BPD and NPD, like, how does that marriage actually work? Does it work? Put this one up there too. Can they actually like coexist together? Like, how does that actually work?
They're a great matchup. They match up fast, but they trigger each other horribly, especially for the PDD. The borderline person's fear is to be overwhelmed, which would be the control would feel like engulfing, which would trigger them, and then they also don't want abandonment. And what's the narcissist tactic whenever things get too intense? They split, so they're abandoning all the time. So it's going to be for the one on the borderline personality spectrum end, they're going to be very triggering, very distressing, very dysregulating. So I think it would be a terrible, painful combination. I wouldn't recommend it ever.
I wouldn't volunteer for it. If I wouldn't volunteer. Like, I have BPD, I was like, ooh, you know what? We're not going to work. I wouldn't volunteer for that relationship dynamic. Okay.
And they're done that. Got the T-shirt. It's no good. I mean, I kind of view it sometimes of like the best way I can do it is like if you have like two magnets that are like polar opposites, and like when they start like getting, it's almost like they get in synergy and they just keep like going like crazy, because like what's happening is like how Carrie was describing it is like one's pulling away and then one comes after, and then like vice versa. It's always like this back and forth that a lot of times doesn't really stop. It just like accelerates.
Sounds like a mess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I when the lock-in happens, it makes sense, but
I get asked all the time, maybe you guys have a better answer for it. I don't honestly know because I don't know, but I get asked constantly, what happens when a narcissist meets another narcissist and they fall in love? And Lee've done some really funny videos about it, but I get asked that all the time. What happens with like doing just the Hunger Games of relationships? And I'm like, I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
When those two narcs get together, I tell you.
Yeah. So
Lee, I love when you're like, I met you 5 minutes ago. I'm in love with you. Let's move in.
Oh yeah. So a lot of those skits are based on like my actual relationship dynamic with my narcissistic ex. And it was like I said, a lot of those skits parallel in what I actually dealt with. Like we was like super love. I'm just like, I love you. Damn, we almost did it at the same time. It can be very, very toxic, but sooner or later, I feel like a hierarchy develops inside of the relationship dynamic where you try to dominate the other person. It becomes extreme. Like 10 out of 10 do not recommend. I'll be real. I self-aware, maybe not just, and this skating on thin ice for me. Anyways, you know, I know the dynamic of how the mind works, but it can just be extremely toxic being with somebody like that, because I know how I am, and my narcissistic ex, she got me. She did. She was just super toxic. She was super malicious, and I was super malicious as well. We used to work together too, so it was even worse. You know what I mean? It was just, and my son's mom worked there too, so it was just, God, it was a horrible, horrible time in my life. Yeah, but it can be, it's just toxicity oozes from the relationship dynamic, you know.
Yeah. Very much so. Familiar with avoidant attachment styles? Is that the primary style for narcissists? That's what it seems to me. That's what they wrote.
Actually, it's not. Their attachment styles is based on observations of kids and going through trauma and how they handle connecting with parents. And I've seen narcissists with all of the attachment styles. I've seen an anxious narcissist. I've also seen narcissists with a disorganized style, which is distrusting. And yes, I've seen a lot of narcissists who avoid relationships altogether, are very intimate avoidant. But I think it's an error to mix these because they're looking at two different dynamics, actually, two different dynamics. So to me, just because someone's avoidant doesn't mean they're narcissistic at all. And just because they're a narcissist doesn't make them avoidant.
Yeah, I agree.
When I was with my abuser and like desperately trying to figure out what was wrong with me, of course, like learning about all the things and seeking all the different helps, I found attachment theory and I studied it, and I convinced myself that they were avoidant and that was all. And that if I could just like get them to trust me, and if I could, you know, whatever, that I could fix everything. And so for me, like, I do think attachment theory is really important to understand if you're in a healthy relationship. Well, I have this, you have that, how can we make this work? But it was also like, it's also something that I think can be detrimental when you are trying to find the answers and like putting a label on it and saying, well, this person's just avoidant, and so you're still here trying to fix it and they're still abusing you.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Lindsay, is that when we're in it, we're desperately searching for any answer. You know, like you, I read books on love languages. I was like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what the issue is. And because typically most of us are completely unaware of what any of this stuff is until after the fact, it's like a big cyclical game of grasping at straws.
Well, I think the biggest thing is like, you know, we talk about the confusion and the cognitive dissonance, and having a narcissist or someone toxic in your life saying they love you and then they abuse you, and saying, you know, you're the only one for me, I'll protect you, and then they're the most dangerous person you need protection from. Like these cognitive dissonant thoughts that we need to bridge the gap, because it just hurts so much to think that both are true. So how do we say that we love them? How do we say that they actually do love us? How do we say that they can actually protect us? Well, we bridge the gap. Oh, they had a bad childhood. They had trauma. Oh, they're avoidant attachment style. Oh, you know, their love language is this. And then we go to these outside sources to try to bridge that gap so that we feel more comfortable and safe with knowing that we're with a really dangerous person. And I think that that's what we do. And like, to avoid that, we have to really just focus on the abuse and the behaviors and what they're actually doing to us, so that we can break that. I think that's the biggest like takeaway there, is all those other things. Like, is it common for narcissists to do this? Is it common for narcissists? We have to cut that out and just shift our mindset and stop bridging that gap, because I know it's easy because it's comfortable, but it's not the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, that's very true.
For me,
I think like I'm avoidant in a lot of areas, but I think I also have a bit of a like anxious avoidant. Like, it's not just like one or the other. It's more avoidant than it is anxious, but there is anxious avoidant in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're always looking for a handle to fix things, and that makes sense because we feel so out of control. And attachment theory does give a lot of hope. People fluctuate on attachment styles. I was part of a longitudinal study for 2 years looking at my attachment styles. I was all over the place, depending on the person, depending on what's going on in my life. So we move in and out of healthy states. But it gives you the sense of a narcissist is going to move in and out of a healthy state. But narcissistic personality disorder is a different thing, and it's persistent. It's part of a person's hardwiring of their personality. It's things that they have to learn compensations for. You just can't heal them with a secure relationship.
Yeah, that's good. Ro, question for you. How would you handle a situation of an ex saying that they would make your life miserable if they found out you were dating again?
Hi, Megan. That is a situation that I wouldn't even have to handle because I wouldn't even know that statement, because the ex that I have in my life is blocked. So they can't get that to me. But if it did get to me, I would say challenge accepted. There's what can you do to make my life miserable? You already have, right? He's already made my life miserable. He already is, because he exists. And now I have to learn about this style of abuse. I was forced. We were all here forced to learn what narcissistic abuse is. We were all forced to learn it, all of us, every single one of us. So if you're dating again, that's for you. That's your self-care. That's your self-love. That's you stepping out into the world again and being free and feeling self-expressed and finding somebody who's going to treat you way better than this person ever treated you and treat you a way that you deserve. Okay. You deserve all that is good in the world. So don't let a person like this stop you from going out and finding what makes you happy. If that's a threat to your happiness, think of it like that. It's a threat to your happiness. He doesn't want you to be happy. And you can just say, peace out. Date again, Megan.
Carrie, I know you have to go, but just wanted to say thanks so much for jumping on.
Yeah, it's so great to meet you guys. Thank you for today. I appreciate that.
Carrie, be safe. Be safe.
Carrie.
Carrie.
Awesome. I was gonna add something to what you said, but I forgot what it was. Oh, what would it change anything as far as like from your perspective, either from you or like if you're like coaching someone, if they still have communication because of having kids and like that whole dynamic, how would you like handle some of that maybe from an emotional state too?
So I'm pretty fortunate that I'm able to go no contact with the narcissist that I married with 3 kids, because we parallel parent, and I was able to have like what I call a monkey in the middle that can communicate for us. Not everybody has that. And not everybody is able to be in that level. So if you do have to communicate with this narcissist, you have to really be practice selecting what they're sending you. And if it has to do with what you need to talk about, like kids or financial or whatever you need to deal with, then you focus on that and you disappear the rest. Literally, if they're asking you about your love life, if they're asking you about a new job that you have, or they're asking you or they're threatening you about dating again, or a new partner that you might be talking to, or whatever it is that has nothing to do with them, they're just trying to get at you and maybe tear at your confidence a little bit. You have to disappear those messages and you have to ignore them. And like I always tell my clients, you have to think of that narcissist as a toddler, because of that emotional irregulation, of that lack of emotional development. And you have to look at them like what a 4-year-old would be saying to you. Just, okay, 4-year-old, you're just saying stuff. Like, you have to just ignore it and look at them like they are a toddler and they're just trying to say stuff to you to get your attention. And you can only really listen to the things that you actually have to pay attention to. That stuff, the threats, you don't have to pay attention to that. It's a 4-year-old toddler telling you threats about your dating life. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Brittany asked if we could give any perspective on narcissist relationship with money.
I feel like that depends on the actual narcissist, because everybody's going to be, different in that aspect of things. Some narcissistic people don't have money, so they'll try to take all of yours. You know what I mean? Right. But some narcissistic people do have money, and they will try to control you with it. So it just kind of depends on the actual narcissistic person that you're dealing with. Honestly, you know what I mean?
Do you have any examples of like financial abuse on you guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, two narcissists that I was with, one made a lot of money and used it all on his vices, right? Like gambling, alcohol, drugs, escorts. And then I, in the marriage, wasn't able to buy $5 cheese. Like, I mean, it was this controlling piece where he had money to spend, and I stayed at home with 3 kids and didn't have any money, financial contribution to the marriage. Everything was non-financial contribution. Then I dated another narcissist who was broke, you know, and like I was coming up at that time and paid for everything. And, you know, I felt sorry for him, and the world was against him, and, oh, he just, you know, everybody's against me, and I need to, like, you know, I'm down on my luck again. And it's just, you know, the sob stories and the victim blaming, and me wanting to help him and fix him, and kind of got suckered into that type of financial abuse. Very different financial abusive situations where one person is really using you for the money that you have and feeling entitled to you. And the other one where they're using money as a control piece. So very different. And yeah, Lee's right. It just depends on the person.
Like I think it does depend on the person. I feel like, I mean, my only experiences with the one I was with for a long time, long-term relationship. And what was interesting was it's a lot like how we've heard, you know, some of you guys talk about empathy of like, I have X amount to give. It's like he would be willing to spend money if he deemed it what he wanted to spend it on, or he justified it as reasonable. And that could be everything from, you know, I don't know, like some ridiculous expenditure that was 30 grand on some toy, but then he wouldn't see the value in spending $25 on something for the house that I felt like we needed. So if it made sense to him in his way of controlling it, and granted we had our own money, like we each had our own separate money, but I did notice, you know, in hindsight looking at it, it's like, okay, well, even that was very similar to the way other situations were controlled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same. Yep.
No, absolutely. It's a good question. I think Lindsay was getting ready to jump off, so I wanted to say thanks for jumping on. Appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you all later.
Absolutely.
All right, Lindsay.
Take care.
Bye. I'm hanging with you guys because as soon as I jump off, I got to get back to work.
That's,
Avoid work. Me too.
Right.
I forgot. I played that drunk on Lindsay. Lindsay, bro, you missed it. I did a one-on-one with Lindsay when she was blowing up on TikTok, and she's like, "People keep calling me a narcissist. Do you think I'm a narcissist based on that video?" And I was just like, I didn't want to have to be the one to tell you this. And she like froze up. She's like, I was like, no, you're not a damn narcissist.
A little PTSD about that.
Yeah, she's like, I'm like, no, you're not a narcissist, Lindsay. Like, no, your reaction was you can tell your reaction was genuine. You know,
right.
But it was a good one. How can they make kids? Oof.
Not give a shit about them.
So sometimes the people they enjoy the part that helps make the kids, but not when the kid actually comes out. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's a tough question. I always like to tell people, you know, sometimes it's a hard thing to hear, but a narcissist can sometimes look at you as an object, like a toy, like you're just a new shiny toy they get to play with and put the batteries in and turn you off and on. And then when you just don't work anymore, they just throw you in the corner and shove you in a closet or in a dusty drawer to play with you later when they're bored again. And like, you know, if they made this little toy, it's the same thing. And unfortunately, most narcissists don't care about anything. So they're not going to care about their kids. They're not going to care about you. They're not going to care about their job. They're not going to care about their addictions. They're not going to care about money. If they're going in the hole, they're not going to care about smear campaigns. They're not going to care about anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, and kids are tough for even the most empathetic, loving people in the world. You know, I think kids are just tough in general. And I can say I don't have kids. I babysit all my friends' kids, but you know, for someone who's not intrinsically empathetic, kids are a bit of an inconvenience. I think they like the idea that they get to be the perfect hero parent and do fun things with them. But then when the kids are screaming and your whole schedule has to change and your life has to change, I think that's when it can get tough, even for the most caring, loving parent. That but for a narcissist, it can be a different ballgame.
Right.
It's important to say that too. My ex used to always say, and he used to love this, I read this stat somewhere that everyone is 99% more unhappy once they have a child. And he used to always say that, like, where did you, and I'm like, where did you hear that? Like,
Right.
Reader's Digest, like, where did you read that? Like, I never understood where he came up with that, but he was so proud of this stat that he thought he read somewhere.
He created that stat. He was the 9%.
What's funny is that I actually agreed with. I was like, well, we are unhappy. Like, we're busy, and anyone he ever talked to was like, that's true. I believe it. I believe it. Whatever you're saying is true. Because there is what what you're saying is like, Ashley, there is a lot of unhappiness and just the inconvenience, and your whole life has to change. And it doesn't mean you don't care about your kids, but your life gets busy, and sometimes you can resent the busyness, right? And so he used to say that, and everybody just ate it up. Even I ate it up. I was like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we are unhappy. I'm just unhappy with you. That's all.
You read that stat about single, unmarried women with no children are the happiest women on the planet. Statistically, so they say.
Right. Yeah, it must be. Yeah, I mean, I think a big aspect about them and like how they care, how they don't care about the kids. I mean, I like how you use the illustration of like the toy, using like an object and like a toy, and like pretty much then the kid comes out and it's like the freaking Energizer bunny and just running around. And you're like, this toy doesn't stop or shut up. And so for a narcissist, it's like this thing happening right now is an inconvenience to my time, money, and attention. And as a result, it gets put in the same box as they do everybody else, because at the end of the day, it's not about the other person, it's all about the narcissist. And so like a lot of times I tell people, hey, like rule of thumb, like maybe like 80% of narcissists out there, 0 to 4 aren't really going to have that much engagement with the kids, because it's like, whatever. They don't really give that praise. They don't really give that attention that they want. They're just kind of like an object. They don't do anything. They eat, poop, and cry, and that's about it. And sleep every once in a while. And then like you get like, 4 to 9, 10, 11, somewhere around there. And then it's like, oh, now I can be like Disneyland dad, the wonderful mom, all that kind of stuff. And they end up being that person in how they portray it. And a lot of times that starts pulling the kids over to their side. But then if the kids start like getting an idea of like, wait a second, like that was a lie, like you just cheated, like they start picking up on stuff. Then you get towards like 13 teens and on, a lot of times you'll see the narcissist even start to like discard. Now, it doesn't work that way all the time, but like rule of thumb is a lot of times we've seen those habits and patterns in a lot of different relationships, showing that like by the end of the day, the narcissist is going to discard them just as much as they're going to discard you. It's just sometimes it's in a different order.
Well, and Ben, you just said the narcissist wants to be the center of attention, and we all know whether they're your kids or someone else's kids, when there's kids in the room, they are the center of attention. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of the attention off the narcissist.
Exactly.
We both did
at the same time. They're competing, yeah. I mean, they're taking the spotlight.
Yeah.
Give me that back.
I find like my clients will have these younger kids, and they'll say, "Oh, I don't know, like that he's being such a perfect dad, and what if the kids choose them? The kids just choose to be with him, right?" Then I have clients with older kids, and it's a totally different experience for them. They're like, my 15-year-old is telling me, Mom, you need to leave him, or you need to get out of there. You need to stop. And they'll say, none of my teenage kids even talk to the narcissist, right? So it's like, as they get older, they see it. The kids will see it as they get older. And that neglect and that like not giving a shit about them is going to catch up to them as they get older.
That's why it's really important to be honest with the kids, not shaming the other person or smearing the other person, but honest with them so they know what's going on. Because we've also seen, the kids get older and then they turn on both the parents because like you weren't honest with me with what happened.
Yep. Yeah. I've seen that happen a lot of times right there. That exact same scenario where they turn on both the parents, just like cut them all off. He was like, nah, I'm free. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I just deal with it on my own.
They just look at all of this toxicity.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They don't feel safe, right? Unless if there's dishonesty and you're covering things up, you're trying to keep the peace, like that saying, keep the peace. It only creates a war really inside. So like we can't just be keeping the peace. We have to be honest and truthful, and your children will feel safer in honesty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. I've got one last one I'll throw up here, and then we'll wrap it up here. But this person put out, what are some good things to say in response to gaslighting, specifically when they say something didn't happen that happened repeatedly, and say we're not talking about me.
Oh yeah, we're not talking about me. We're talking about you. Trying to put it back on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if, I want you to remember something. When it comes to gaslighting, if you heard it, they 100% said it. Okay. Don't ever let them tell you you didn't hear it. You heard what you heard. You have ears, they work. Okay. If you saw it, they did it. Right. You have eyes. You have two eyes. You can see it. Don't let them tell you what you saw. You saw it with your own eyes. And if you are hurt by it, it's not a joke. Don't ever let them tell you it was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And ha ha ha, it's just a funny joke. Get over it. It's just a joke. That is all gaslighting. Trust your instincts. Trust your eyesight and your hearing and your feelings. If you feel hurt by it, they hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And who cares if you're not, you are talking about them because they're the ones doing it to you. So don't, like what Lee always says is, don't let a narcissist talk too much. Don't let them talk their way out of you being out of reality. Remember what you saw, remember what you heard, and remember how you feel. If you're ever thinking that you're going to be gaslit or you're being gaslit by somebody, really draw on what you feel, what you hear, and what you see. That would be my
I want
advice.
to add on to that too. When you say what are good things to say in response, to Rose's point, you already know what you heard. You saw what you saw. The worst thing you can do is argue your point, because you're never going to win that conversation. It's not going to happen. So I actually think, right. Exactly. You're arguing with a kid who is going to fight back tooth and nail and blame shift and flip the conversation around onto you and all the things that we know happen. So I've done it all the wrong way. I argued it a million times. I stuck my heels in, and I will tell you from experience, it doesn't work. And I think the less is more. You don't need to. You know what you heard. That's the moment you walk away.
Yep. And my point is, I'll add to that. Put PSS, PPS. What do we say? Don't argue the truth. I just like, if you know what the truth is, don't argue it, because you'll be wasting a lot of time, effort, energy. You'll be going in circles. Look, I know the truth. You know the truth. I'm not arguing the truth. This is like, of course, use discretion, because some people are crazy as hell and will rage out on you if you say that. So just be, who you're dealing with. Just be careful what you say, because some people will take that, as an insult. I'm not arguing the truth. You're boom. So
yeah, that's really good. Well, we're gonna jump off here, but thank you all so much for jumping on, and thank you everybody for all the questions and everything. So if you don't follow us already, we've got our handles listed right beside our names. So make sure to give us a follow. Make sure to see us in Austin, Texas. If you guys are going to be there on October 15th, that is coming up soon. So we'll see you there. Woo. And then after Austin, Texas, you'll be able to see Ro specifically in Toronto, Canada. And so she's super excited about that. That is also on the NarcAvengers website as well. So if you go to narcavengers.com, you can go to Texas and also go to Toronto on the tabs there to be able to sign up. Seats are getting limited as far as the Texas one. Specifically, if you want to do a one-on-one, or if you want to be a part of the question and answer time, it's the only really question and answer time that's advertised for that day, because once the meet and greet starts, we're not really going to be able to do a ton of that, because there's about 170 people that are going to be.
Oh my God.
So be ready. Anyway.
170?
Amazing.
Oh my God. 170 people, y'all.
Yeah, I'll have to pull it up too and see if it's updated.
That's a little bit more than my wedding guests, so that's cool. That's a big party. That's a big
awesome. Anyways, everybody have a great night. Thanks everybody for being on.
Good night, everyone.